Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. This week we are talking all things math, covering the book A Doubter's Almanac by Ethan Canin, which is a story about a mathematician named Milo Andret, protagonist, anti-hero. And also this story is beloved by my guest this week, Marty Mooradian. When Marty isn't selling apartment complexes with Colliers International, he's acting in plays and TV commercials, producing electronic dance music, and living his best life as the most well-known dining room DJ in Bonaire. Marty has a passion for music and great writing, and if he ever gets more time on his hands, he'll get back to making some of the best sourdough on the planet. And I've had the sourdough. I can verify it is the best. Marty and his wife, Christina, are good friends of ours. And also, if you want to support the show, just a reminder, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a family member, tell a stranger. I would just appreciate the support. And with that, let's get on with the show. Thanks. You went for a run this morning?
I did, yeah. Like around the neighborhood.
Okay.
It was nice. It was my second run. I did a little walk run a few weeks ago. This has been
It's so hot today, though.
I know. I liked it though. And then they came home and the sauna was all ready to go. Mm-hmm. Sat in the sauna for a little bit. Nice. I was ready to go. And then I had this like natural high going on.
Yeah.
You know. Are we doing this? Is this
it's
going?
Recording.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Are you comfortable?
I'm totally comfortable. I just had no idea. Like I was talking about the running route and all that other stuff. But yeah, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Well, we need to show off your physical fitness on here. Let's start with that. So we already got that out of the way.
It's totally awkward now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here. The commute was rough.
Yeah. For the listener, you are my neighbor.
That is, I live pretty close, and I love the studio. I love what you've done with that. I was here day zero, you know, and trying to hook stuff up, make stuff work, and I had no idea what I was doing. Uh-huh. Maybe like a little notch above where you were at the time, but it seems like you definitely have, given that my stuff at home is not working at the moment, so, you've surpassed me.
Well, out of necessity.
Student has become the master.
I'm going to be showing you I'll have my own DJ career too.
Yeah, you'd be like, you got to use more compression on your voice.
Yeah. It has been a whole thing. Yeah, so you were here literally day one when I was like, I have this idea. I don't know how to do it. And you came over, and that was the first day Bill and I recorded. And you got to set up.
Yeah. And then after listening to all these episodes, it's kind of intimidating. I was like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to go on. But then I'm like, I got to be prepared. I reread the book. Well, I got halfway through the reread of it. But it was, I'm glad I chose it. But I don't know. We just get right into the book.
Well, I guess let's talk about, who were you when you picked this book up?
Yeah, so this was 2019. And pre-COVID, mm-hmm. kind of pursuing my interests kind of life going on, right?
Yeah.
We're really into physics, astronomy, just anything to do. And then I think I was always good at math as a kid, but then
mm-hmm.
when I got to college, I kind of bombed out of it. And I think now, after reading the book, it actually made me understand my math TA a lot more, too, because...
Math, what's a TA?
Oh, the teacher's assistant. Oh. The guy that was...
Okay.
Probably
literally.
He was probably there getting his PhD or something like that, or no idea, but he was really weird. And here I was out of high school. I think it was just a calculus course I was taking, but I crushed it in high school. And I get to college, and I didn't understand you have to do the work and learn it before you kind of get there kind of thing. So he was just like going, and maybe this is just my experience with this one guy's class, but he was on a different level in a sense that he really couldn't. I mean, I don't think I was alone, but it basically scared me out of math and pushed me into a statistics course where then I jumped into a poli-sci major instead of who knows where I would have ended up. But it was one of those things. And then I was reading the book and it just sort of made everything kind of click, right? So like, so I always had this like interest in math, and I'm always kind of brushing up on it. And I don't know if I searched Libby for mathematics or if I was just scrolling literature, but I came across a title, A Doubter's Almanac.
Yeah.
And I read the description, and it basically follows a mathematician, or I think it's what 6 decades of his life or whatever. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. And I opened it up, and I think within the first 2 chapters, I was like blown away by it. And I like the writing style too, but the book just with math in general, math has always been one of those things where it just has existed and they taught me it, and I never understood where all that came from, right? Like they say, hey, this is how you do this problem, and you learn it, but then I was always like, how do they know? Like, who's coming up with this stuff, right? And I never understood that there's these people who imagine things and then kind of try to disprove their imaginations almost.
Right.
You know, so it just kind of blew my mind. And then I kind of also like this guy was a train wreck, right? I mean,
and he was an asshole too.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? I was like, well, maybe that's just, you know, I always assume that everyone sees the world like I do, right? But like, you know, like, but it's not like that, right? Like,
right.
You have like the introvert extrovert scale, all that, but then you have people who just don't mesh well. And through the book, I mean, there's been many times where his love interest in the book where she would basically be like, you're not down here with us mortals.
Right.
You know, so it was one of those things where when I go back to like my math TA, this dude was weird. Like he'd be in the middle of a lecture and then he'd throw an eraser out the window for no reason, right? And he'd watch it fall and he'd come back. He's like, I just want to see what would happen. And we're all like, okay. And but it just reminded me of like these guys that, so like, you know, Milo Andret, the main character of the book, you know, it was almost like he was discovered. It's not like he had this affinity for math. He just happened to be really good at it. He was kind of like plucked from one school into the other, into one program, and then he's like studying under folks. And it was one of those things where I was like, I just assumed that the math TA was just someone who was just good at math, who was I have no idea, just a real smart guy. Like I had no idea, like that maybe and I wish I knew his name because I'd love to look him up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd give him a shout out because he kind of ruined my whole like love for math.
So like the opposite, like let's look him up and like let's destroy him.
Yeah, exactly. Like where are you now?
Could do like the whole like Pretty Woman. It's like, remember me?
Yeah. Guess who's doing algebra now?
Yeah. Okay. So, but you wish we don't know his name.
I know, and I don't know if I could ever find him. Like he was, because I was like 3 weeks in the class, and I realized after being lost for 3 weeks that I was like, I gotta, you know, I can't lose my scholarships. Got to get out of there, you know.
Yeah, well, that's a bummer though.
Well, it is funny. It's funny. I've looked at Khan Academy, and I've been kind of revisiting stuff. But my thing is
can you say real quick what Khan Academy? I know what Khan Academy.
So Khan Academy, if just how I understand it, it's just almost like a free educational website that there's a whole bunch of subjects you can study on there.
Yeah.
Physics, physics, math. Trying to think of other stuff I've seen on there. But really, it's for everybody.
Right.
It's for like kind of like learning at home kind of thing.
Open learning. And I will say about you, you are someone that has always, as long as I've known you, you are always learning something new, trying new things. You briefly gave me, I think I might still have it, your password to masterclass.
Oh, shit.
I took the whole Judy Bloom course on there. So thank you.
Yeah, and it just, I have my little interests and I kind of run with them, right? But it was funny because the thing about this that really blew my mind is these folks weren't just good at math, right? They were solving I don't know if it's conjectures you prove or what. Like, there's this whole like thing where like axioms are proven to be true. Was it theorems are also? I don't know. I have no idea what, like the difference, but it was funny it was really wild to see him pursue these goals, like to solve the hardest problems, and to know that at any point somewhere in the world could solve the problem, then all his work for 14 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years is for nothing.
It's like a race against time for everything that Milo's working on. It's all about finding these answers before someone else finds the answers. So going to like the characters a little bit, like who would you describe Milo as? So like Milo is the father, and he's basically the protagonist. I would say like an anti-hero, maybe even villain. The first half, would you agree with that?
I would say it depends on the perspective of right. Like I feel like to every other character in there, he would be almost the villain, right? Like to like especially the people in his department, because it's just. It's sort of like I feel like he's part of that personality that like we all wish we kind of had, right? Like or not like where he says whatever he wants, he does whatever he wants, he has no regard for anyone else, right? And the rest of us are like you have your pleasantries and being polite and all that, and he literally does not care about any of that. And it was I just thought it's like it's hard not to root for a guy like that because you're just like, how is the next person going to respond to him? Right. Like he's over there. I don't want to like spoiler any of the
I don't think it's too. I think you can talk like lightly about some broadly, maybe, I guess, or we can talk like specific scenes. You know, there's so many things that happen in this book. I don't know if one of them is going to give the whole plot away.
Well, towards the beginning, but when he was having the relationship with another faculty's wife, right? And he just shows up in the middle of the night at the house, and the husband answers the door, and he just like he laughs, and then it cuts away. Like time, like I love how like Canin uses time like to like just jump in between, like because it was sort of like you have that big event happening, and then it jumps ahead like 4 months or 5 months.
Yeah, well, and like to me, that scene really demonstrated his arrogance. So he had already been caught with this woman by her husband, and he just left the house, and now he decides to come back to the house where he just was caught, and thinks the husband isn't going to be there. I don't know. It's just he has different sensibilities, I think.
The thing I liked, it was sort of like he had these monumental things happening in his life, like winning recognition awards for I forget what the prizes were, but in he would solve something, win something, but then time would go almost a year or two ahead. Yeah. Right? Like it wasn't like there was no relishing in the accolades at all. Right. It was just basically on to the next problem to solve.
Do you think he was happy? Or do you think that matters? I don't know.
I would say if the first chapter, I mean, the reoccurring theme of the book isn't it the kind of like the girl that got away kind of thing?
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about her for a second. Her name is Cleopatra.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, the first chapter of the book is later on in life, and her and her husband Earl, who is. They all went to, what was it, Princeton? Is that where they all were together?
I think for undergrad or grad school,
and so they're all, that's where they all kind of met. And Earl is sort of the antagonist of Milo, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like until the whole, and that's in the early-ish part of the book, the whole relationship where Earl basically steals her, that was when Milo turned bad. I don't know. What would you say?
It was. Well, I mean, I kind of look at Cleopatra as someone who was never anyone's, right? In a way, like it's sort of like, and I think Earl realized that, and Earl was just kind of rolling with it. And in Earl's role, Earl in the book is basically a mathematician, but he's not even really like he's not at the, he doesn't care. Like it's sort of like he's there, he's getting his education, and it seemed like he always had his eye on the prize, which was probably just life after school, Wall Street, making money, kind of thing like that.
Right.
But like he always seemed to win because he got the girl, right?
Yeah.
In a way, so.
What would you say is like the vibe of this story? Would you say it's heavy, thoughtful?
I don't know. It's because I thought about this, right? Because I knew this question. I've heard it asked a couple times,
Okay.
right? And it's one of those things where it's sort of a tragedy, right? In a way, right? Because here's a guy who most people would want a gift, right? Like something, right? Something that I'm going to do something. I'm going to leave something behind. Right? I'm 45, right? And you feel that pressure all the time of, what have I done? Like, what am I doing? And it's sort of,
I get that.
Right. So most people, I feel like, want to leave something behind, right? Like something bigger than them. Like here's Milo solving these math problems and all that, right? And you realize it's sort of a curse that that having that kind of that gift is almost is not something to, or it's not what it's cracked up to be. You would kind of wish for a gift like that, but what's that really like? And it kind of, being someone who's got a creative element, it's like you feel this sort of struggle of doing something, right? Whether it's like making a song or writing a song or writing like a book or anything. It's like you just have this like kind of like push to kind of do that, and I felt like being someone who's I would say I'm hitting middle age, right? Like it hit a chord, right? It's like you have this. I don't know. It's sort of like I think back to my lack of a mathematical gift. Right, like I was just going to math class to learn math, right? And I feel like most of us are kind of in that track of, name the subject. We're there learning things that others have really spent their whole life pursuing, right? I don't know. The vibe for me was just sort of, am I lucky to have not been bestowed those kind of gifts, right? Or just because Milo didn't find it fulfilling. We didn't even talk about his wife, right?
Yeah,
but when
Helena.
Like when Helena is, when you have the story from the son's point of view, you keep hearing the same theme of her pushing the kids towards more kind of like healthier creative passions than you have Milo pushing the kids towards math and then her trying to really kind of make them more well-rounded.
Right.
So I don't know. The vibe, it was really just sort of, it hit me on a whole kind of level of just kind of just relax, like like not being someone who's 45 that wants to do something, leave something behind, to just sort of like, it's no big deal, man,
Okay, well that's good, because that's the opposite of how Milo lived his life. Is just nothing matters but the pursuit of this thing, even though the pursuit never ends. And like you said, like even when he would win acolytes, it's almost like he never appreciated it. He was just always looking for another mountain to climb. And is that real living? Is that real happiness? I don't know. I wouldn't say so, but maybe for other people. I mean, I 100% hear what you're saying with like aging. I'm 41, and I think after you hit 40, it's not like all of a sudden you're like, oh, death is near. But you start to reflect on, oh my gosh, the last 20 years just kind of flew by. And what are the next 20 years going to be like? And so I think there's just more of a realization as you age and as you get older, and also wanting to create things and not be on my deathbed and think, I could have done this thing, but I didn't because I was too scared, or I was focused on my career, or whatever.
Knowing you don't have unlimited time, instead of scrolling social media like kind of like aimlessly, it's like the other day I was like, what is actually in hot sauce? And I was like looking at like how hot sauce is made, and it kind of like I had a taste of a scorpion pepper. Did you ever?
What is that?
I don't know.
Where did you get it?
So I was at Christina's mom's.
Shout out to Big T.
Yeah, Big T, my wife.
Also, hang on just real quick. You recognize his glasses?
Oh,
You guys got these for me.
Oh yeah,
my birthday. Very nice. I'm guessing Christina bought these.
I always weigh in.
Okay.
Right?
Well, thank you.
Yeah. No, she's always like, "Is this good?" And I'm like, "Yep." Now you kind of know when the gifts are mine. They're slightly different than
Kate Spade glasses.
Yeah, like I would say that it's a good guess that this was Christina.
Yeah. So you're at Christina's mom's.
Yeah, and they had a whole bunch of these hot sauces. Now I can't eat anything hotter than a jalapeno, and actually I really can't even eat jalapenos because it just destroys me.
Oh,
and
no.
I don't know if it's an allergy or what. So anyway, so I was like, you know what, YOLO. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So I took a little dollop of it. So scorpion pepper is, I think, the only thing hotter than, at least on the scale that I saw when I Googled it, was like a Carolina Reaper, and there's a couple others that were above it. But it was like at the top of this thing, right? So I was like, well, I'm going to have a little like pea-sized dollop. I'm going to mix some barbecue sauce in. And then I'll put that on the barbecue and all that. I was like, try it, see what happens. And I have never... I ate it, and it wasn't like because I didn't have a lot of it at a time, but my mouth was extremely hot. Then my chest was extremely hot, and then I started sweating all over my face. Like it was just like all these places where like it was like I was sweating like on my hairline, but then on my eyelids.
On your eyelids?
Yeah, and then and then I'm like, okay, I don't know if this was a good idea. And then I watched other people eat way more, and they looked like they were about to have like allergic reactions. So,
oh my gosh.
Anyway, so I would go home, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. I mean, I wonder if they're. I just like was like, and how do you make hot sauce? Like, it's just something that's always just there, right? Like, I just eat it, right? So then I was watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos on that, and then in the 4,000 weeks. Of my life, I have decided that maybe making hot sauce is a hobby that I'm not going to pursue.
Right.
I'll just enjoy other people's.
Okay. You're like, that one can't be added to the list.
Yes. I already have too many hobbies.
I know, because, okay, so speaking of things you make, you brew beer sometimes. Is this an appropriate time to bring up the Bon Air blend?
Yes, I'm also a winemaker.
Yeah, so I think like one of the first times we like ever hung out, we were out and we came back to here, and so we're neighbors, and so we were like having like a little after party, and that's when you guys brought out the Bon Air blend to try.
Yeah, so Christina and I made a homemade kind of kit. Malbec that we bought from the local homebrew store, and it was so funny. We have all these winemaking like tools and gear and all that, and we've made one batch of wine, and it was such a train wreck. We've never touched the stuff again because it's like we still have a case of it. Like, what are we gonna? I mean, it's garbage, but like I'm the type. I was like, I can't just dump it. So
but every once in a while we'll be like, let's go get one of those bottles of the Bon Air blend.
Maybe this won't be good. Never is.
I think if you've had enough drinks before you get to it, you'll be it's pretty good.
Yeah, like if your palate was completely destroyed by something previously, like it could be pretty good. I think it would actually make a good sangria, but I don't know. It's one of those things where we did it in that blind wine taste the taste test that we did. We kind of snuck it in there to see if anyone would notice, and it was just vile. People are just, what is this?
Yeah. Okay. So I think if we're going to talk about, so we do wine tastings together. It's like in our friend group, and then occasionally you guys have hosted, and we'll come over and you guys will have like bottles of wine that have like a sock over it.
Yeah. Clean sock.
Clean sock.
I think.
Christina's in charge of it. Nobody's really quite sure. It's a lot of fun.
No, the next is going to be where I'm going to bank on maybe no one that we hang with listening to this episode, right?
Okay.
But where we work in the murder mystery sort of theme to it, and we can have someone like die in the middle of the living room during the wine tasting. That's kind of like what I feel like that would add a whole little element to it.
We have to do it. Okay, so what we have to do is, all right, you are an actor. You've got actor friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help pay for it. We'll split the cost of them to come to the party. And only we'll know that this incident's going to occur.
Yeah, so like maybe we could go one or two ways. We can hire them as either staff, which would be kind of out of character, I think, for us, have like paid staff at our events. But we could, I'm thinking maybe it'd just be like some like one-off couple. Okay. Right? You know, Tim and his girlfriend or
Madeline. Tim and Madeline.
Yeah, and then like one of them has like an allergic reaction, keels over.
I think this is a great idea, although I can see our friends being like, call 911. No, don't do that. We're going to solve the murder ourselves.
You just slap phones out of people's hands.
At the beginning of it, we'll do that. This is totally, I just read a book like this too. We'll do it. Okay, you have to put your phone in a bag. That there's the phones, and then the phones will disappear.
Oh my God, it's going to be like PTSD. Like somebody's going to be like freaking out trying to find their phone.
I think sometimes you and I get like very into these
we could
ideas.
do? Yeah. We could have like a fake landline, right? And right when the person dies, the phone can ring. Then you pick it up and it goes on like speakerphone and it introduces the murder mystery.
Oh, that'd be so good.
And then if I'm, provided I don't get divorced on the spot, it'd be a great night.
A lot of fun. Okay. This is a very good idea. We'll have to figure out how to subtly make sure none of our friends listen to this.
We should have led with this and then talked about the book.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very good idea, but we'll get back to the podcast. Do you read books like this a lot? Like, what do you normally read?
So it's when I'm scrolling for something new. So I'll go on Libby and I'll try to find something kind of like in the literature, with the literature tag, with trying not to just pick something by the cover, right? Like just trying to figure out the next thing. I do think this one was an accidental sort of, I was looking for like a math book and found this, right? Because I don't know if I just sort of like, I just read a lot of the descriptions. And then we've had this conversation before. It's like life's too short to read books that you're not into, right? So it's like I'll read that sample if I like the writing style. I kind of jump in. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of looking for stuff on Libby. I came across this book called The Rent Collector, and it's basically about this family. This impoverished family that lives on the edge of it's a whole community on the edge of a landfill in Cambodia. And it was one of those things where. Looking at the cover, looking at the title, you wouldn't kind of know what it's about, but you read the description, and I was like, I need to experience what it's like to live on the outside, the outskirts of a landfill, right? Like, so it was a great book, and I don't know, it's sort of like I kind of find books that way, right? Just sort of kind of digging. Almost like a DJ would crate dig, looking for a good song, right? Okay. But it's also like, recommendations are always the kind of thing too. But really, it's like I'm a big fan of the Libby app, and this is an unpaid promotion, right? But I would, if they want to contact me, I'm happy to.
They throw the best parties.
Do they? The Libby parties.
The Libby parties are pretty good.
There's like a big library convention, but they have the suite where everyone's kind of like goes, and the party goes all night.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been invited to those. But I have been invited to, you're at, like, a nice museum, and they've got, like, a full band playing and ice sculptures, and, you feel like you're at your rich friend's wedding.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I pictured this, like, like, convention, like, the librarian convention, where, they're like, oh, did you get the tickets to the Libby event?
Yeah, I think you do have to get, like, I've only gone, like, twice to one of those, but, yeah.
That's great.
Believe it or not, I don't think library conferences get as crazy probably as like other conventions, just because, Libby is like probably has the most money, and then the rest of us sort of like trickle down.
So like where's Overdrive in this?
Well, Overdrive owns Libby.
Oh, okay. So is like Hoopla the underdog here, or different?
Hoopla is I don't know for sure where Hoopla stands in the whole thing. Hoopla is also more expensive for
Mm-hmm.
libraries than Overdrive is. Yeah, I don't know. Hoopla is its own thing, and we'll kind of see how it all shakes out. But it hasn't. It also hasn't been in the game as long
Mm-hmm.
as Overdrive has,
Yeah,
and
this is like the underworld of like digital
yeah,
library like kind of thing.
yeah.
Right?
It's also Hoopla. Like I said, is much more expensive for
Mm-hmm.
us to pay for. So that's why you might see like different libraries offer different access to Hoopla.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Libby, where I feel like a lot of us have pretty similar, all that. So, is there anything we haven't touched on with A Doubter's Almanac that you would like to bring up?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of it. We haven't talked about the.
We have, yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about. I'll bring it up in like the first part of it, but
Yeah, yeah.
so we're drinking 7 and 7s. I think this is good. When was the last time you recall having a 7 and 7?
I can honestly say I've never had a 7 and 7 before having it right now,
Oh.
and I chose it because I was like, well, what would I drink with this
Yeah.
book, right? And with it being the math theme, I thought 7 and 7, sort of like, ha, look how clever Marty is, like I could be creative too.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I actually, it's pretty good. And I was confused because I guess Seagram's makes multiple things. They make gin, but this is whiskey.
It's a blended whiskey,
It's a blended whiskey.
but it's really good. But it kind of has like I mean, even the bottle, it's just such a throwback to like the 70s, I feel, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty sure like my parents had it in their wet bar, and I was like, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of maybe the Princeton days with Milo, or where was he in the 70s? I think he was,
Well, and we also did not talk about, as we drink these 7 and 7s, Milo's like insane addiction issues. And I mean, he's drinking like 6 of these with breakfast, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, that's a big part of the book as well. But also, so yeah, I asked you when the last time you had one of these, because like I was trying to figure out when the last time I had one of a 7 and 7. And I also have to confess that there was a part of me when you said 7 and 7, I was like, I don't think they make 7-Up anymore. But I was wrong. 7-Up is still a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't drink a lot of soda.
This is the first bit of soda I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be shot out of a cannon in like 10 minutes. But no, because Christina was like, what's gonna be the drink? I'm like, 7 and 7, and she's like, what is that? And I'm like, well, it's Seagram 7 and 7-Up. And she's like, what's Seagram 7? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna bring this back in Richmond. I feel like Richmond's the city. Yeah, this is the right kind of city to do it into. I feel like I'm gonna go out to eat somewhere, and I'm gonna order it, and the waitress is gonna look at me, and then she'll look at my New Balances, and she'll get it.
This guy.
She'll be like, he's old.
Well, we are hanging out like later today. I think we're gonna start with our families, and we'll make them drink 7 and 7.
Mm-hmm. Not Annabelle, though.
Not Annabelle.
For the record.
But everybody else. So, yeah. Okay. So, go just one last question then.
Yeah.
Who would you recommend this story to?
I think, so I would say if you're curious just on sort of like kind of like pulling back the curtain on just academia in general, like not just like the tenure process or just sort of like how these departments interact with each other and all. I that part I found really interesting, just sort of like just the way the faculty kind of deals with each other.
Yeah.
And how like you can have like this personality like Milo, who is like the most abrasive person on the planet.
Yeah.
And he just trashes everybody to their face, but they're all like, they recognize his genius and sort of like deal with him.
Right.
Like when he was like trying to get that department, whatever the program that he was running, I forget. He had to get them to approve it. And he was just like, just destroying them in the room, the people that were making the decision.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I found like that very interesting, but I just feel like there's just a lot of, I don't know. I felt like it was just a good story. Like it is, because it does. I mean, there's a lot of drug undertones in it too. I mean, just the way that that Ethan wrote the LSD trips
Right.
I was like, okay, it's very vivid. And it's just a great book. But I just think it's sort of like it. I don't know who I'd recommend. It's funny. I thought about that. I think I had an answer in my head, and now like 3/4 of the way through the 7 and 7, which is very very tall 7 and 7. I'm walking home.
Right.
But I don't know. I just thought it was a really good book. Like I think. It wasn't a hard read at all.
Yeah.
Like I felt like those $10,000 words that he would use were sprinkled in very tastefully. And it's not like it's a hard read. Great story, all these different perspectives, goes through all different parts of the last 60 years. And I don't know, I just found it just a really good read.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like good, a good literary fiction for sure. And I, like you said, I think the writing was incredible, and the storytelling, and the characters are a little different than what you might normally get, but I think for like the math portion of it as well, people get a big kick out of that if they're into it. So, and I, the more I found out about the author, the more I wanted to read more from him because he sounds really intelligent and very thoughtful in how he writes.
Yeah, I actually want to check out some of his other stuff too, just to kind of see. I mean, I don't know how you got. I mean, that book for someone to produce that, to know that they may have 2 or 3 others that are even just as good or better would be mind blowing for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think his first one, Empire of the Air, I think won some pretty big awards. So maybe that's where to start. So I also wanted to mention that he took 8 years to write this, and that he did have an actual mathematician read over it.
Oh, nice.
And to make sure everything was factually accurate. So anyway, there we go. Well, buddy, we did it. We'll do it again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Maybe I'll talk about The Rent Collector.
Okay, for next time. Sounds good.
Maybe bring I'll let the drink be a surprise. It'll have a landfill theme.
Well, that will be.
But I'll leave it at that.
To leave everybody on the edge.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, cliffhanger episode. All right. Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.